Not to be confused with Disney's The Kid or even Charlie Chaplin's The Kid, Vincent D'Onofrio's The Kid brings together again Chris Pratt and Ethan Hawke in another gunslinging western. The story is about a boy, Rio, and his sister who are on the run from their uncle, and they're trying to get to Santa Fe. Along the way, they meet up with Billy the Kid, and they also encounter Sheriff Pat Garrett. Maybe this is kind of a spoiler. I don't think it is, but my wife and I were having this discussion, and I think it's important so that you're not disappointed going into the movie that it's not really about Billy the Kid. I mean, yes, he's in it. William H. Bonney is there, but the story does not really circle about him. I mean, that's not the true point of it. It really is about Rio, who is the kid, and Pat Garrett and their story together. Ethan Hawke plays Pat Garrett in this, and he is awesome. I mean, he is dedicated, fierce, even a bit mournful. I mean, his performance is just so powerful and awesome. And you know what? I don't think that I've seen a bad performance from Ethan Hawke in a really long time. Dane DeHaan plays Billy the Kid, and he's great too. I mean, he plays the character with this bravado and this hubris that is really reminiscent of Emilio Estevez's version of Billy the Kid in Young Guns. And I mean, it was great. He was fun to watch. Chris Pratt plays the uncle, and it's really great and weird all at the same time to see him play a bad guy. And he plays this bad guy really well. I mean, there is a certain level of nastiness that Chris Pratt brings to this that just makes you not like the character at all. I mean, really hate him. He's despicable. And what was funny is at little bits and parts there when he spoke, he sounded like Vincent D'Onofrio's character in Magnificent Seven. So he had that kind of that high-pitched, kind of gravelly whine to it. And I just thought it was funny because it's Vincent D'Onofrio's movie and he's directing Chris Pratt. Now Chris Pratt is playing this big old bearded, bushy guy who looks kind of like Vincent D'Onofrio and now sounds a little bit like him from a previous Western movie. Yeah, there you go. Newcomer Jake Schur plays Rio, and he does a really good job of just playing this lost and sorrowful boy, but who has like this fire deep inside of him. I know a lot of Westerns can be slow. That's not to say that they all are, but for the most part, they have this meandering pace to them, and that's okay. And we know that typically going into the Western. But in The Kid, it kind of hampers the story. And really, it's because the story, I believe, is a little bit fragmented. And so what they end up doing is they spend too much time on certain aspects and then gloss over or just jump parts of the story that would really help with continuity. And so you, like, just to connect the dots, because some bits and pieces throughout are, you're left wondering, well, how did they find out about that? Because it was like just the next night and the timeline doesn't seem to fit. And so for me, I was kind of scratching my head like, oh gosh, that doesn't ring true. And everything else that I'm seeing in this world that has been created for me, it doesn't match up. And so I wanted a little bit more time spent to fill in the gaps that needed to be filled in for the continuity's sake, and then take some of the focus and some of the meandering off of certain parts, especially with Billy the Kid, that we didn't need to necessarily see. Because while, yes, they built on his character, they didn't do much for the overarching story. I saw some reviews online that were discussing the portrayal of women in this film and how unrealistic it was, or how we needed to change the mindset. And I want to address that just really quickly, that Vincent D'Onofrio and the filmmakers are not putting women down. They're not saying that they are less than or anything else. What they're doing is they're putting this film in the framework of the 19th century. I mean, it's the late 1800s. Women did not play a prominent role in a lot of things. That's not to say that's right, especially in modern times where we have changed and we have become just more enlightened and gotten a new understanding and really have seen people for who they are and the value and the worth that they have, and not putting them at certain classes or levels or relegating them to the background because they happen to be women or they happen to be a different race. Yes, does that still happen? Absolutely. I'm not talking about that. I just think that when we're watching a film, we really need to look at it from the timeline that it's being placed into. Now, sometimes filmmakers will take a time and then they will make a commentary about it, and they will just show how wrong this was and how it needs to be changed, or that will be the focus. In The Kid, that's not the focus at all. Vincent D'Onofrio is not even trying to make a commentary on women or their role or anything else. So I think it's really important, especially in this one, that we view the film for the time and through the time frame and the mindset that it is set in. Okay, rant over. I just want to be clear. I'm not trying to promote or advocate the furtherance of ignorance just to continue a stereotype. That's not what I'm saying, and that's not what I agree with or even think. And I don't think that that's what D'Onofrio is doing in this movie. He's not making a statement about women or their worth or even any other cultures. It was just how the time was, and he's accurately portraying how women were treated in this, even though it's about this much of the film. Overall, I enjoyed The Kid, but I feel that it could have been more focused in the storytelling. I would have really liked them to delve deeper into the story of Pat, Garrett, and Rio, because that is truly the central focus of the movie. And then, I mean, you keep the rest of it, but maybe fine-tune it a little bit so that we get just a richer and deeper story that was already there, but just didn't bubble up as much as it could have. There's no sex, there might be a little brief nudity, but there is profanity and there is a lot of violence. I give The Kid 3 out of 5 couches. Are you a fan of Westerns? Recommend something good for me. I'd love to know in the comments below. If you enjoyed this review, please give it a like. Also, don't forget to share and subscribe. I'm Chris. This is Movies and Munchies. Thanks for couching with me. Wish I had a horse. Well, I don't really want a horse. I got a dog. That's cool enough because I can snuggle with the dog. You can't snuggle with a horse, I don't think, other than being crushed. Anyway, that was stupid.